Have you ever heard of a place that time itself has forgotten? Deep in the remote mountains of Montana, there's a stretch of cracked asphalt that almost no one talks about anymore. A location so isolated that even local authorities refuse to acknowledge it on modern maps. It was once known as County Road 47, but for decades, residents of nearby towns have called it by a different name, Mile 96. They say it as a road where time itself freezes, and not everyone who enters makes it out. The story begins in the late 1970s. Truckers started reporting the same strange phenomenon over their CB radios. Suddenly, the clocks on their dashboards would stop. The needles on their tachometers would freeze in place. Their engines would sputter and die, as if suffocating, and for a moment, sometimes, just a few seconds. Sometimes several minutes, the world would fall into a silent, suffocating stillness. No wind, no insects, no engine noise, just silence. One driver described it as feeling like he was trapped under ice. At first, these accounts were dismissed as mechanical failures or hallucinations from fatigue. But then, the disappearances began. Drivers who entered the stretch of Mile 96 simply never reached their destinations. Search teams would find their vehicles abandoned on the road, doors wide open, keys still in the ignition, but no footprints leading away. No sign of a struggle. It was as if the drivers had just evaporated into thin air. Local authorities tried to bury the reports, but in 1994, one case broke through the silence. The disappearance of Jonathan Halley, a long-haul trucker from Idaho. His last moments were captured in a chilling 4-minute audio recording, recovered from his CB radio. In the recording, you can hear Jonathan breathing heavily, whispering into the darkness. They're standing in the road. Frozen. They can't move, but their eyes are following me. Investigators were never able to determine who they were. Some speculated it was a group of people caught in a bizarre medical event. Others thought it was a hallucination. But those who knew the old stories, the ones the locals refused to tell outsiders, believed it was something else entirely. Long before the road was paved, native tribes warned settlers not to cross that area after dusk. They spoke of a place where the flow of the world bends unnaturally, a valley where the living could catch glimpses of those who walked in a different layer of time. Early explorers who camped there reported waking up to see people standing motionless at the edge of the tree's figures, who would disappear without a sound the moment they were approached. The strangeness continued. In 1983, a forestry crew claimed their watches all stopped at the exact same time while they were surveying the valley. They reported that shadows between the trees seemed delayed, as if moving out of sync with the sun. Their official written report described the area as fundamentally wrong, and the crew refused to continue working there. The case was quietly closed. If this investigation has you hooked so far, make sure to subscribe to Shadow Histories. We release dark, cinematic documentary-style videos every single week. Now, what makes Mile 96 truly terrifying is what witnesses consistently describe: the figures on the road. They appear humanoid, sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes too distorted to identify. They stand as if paused mid-step, frozen in a moment that doesn't belong to our present. Their bodies are completely still. Their breathing can't be heard. Yet their eyes, and every witness uses the exact same wording, their eyes move independently from the rest of the body, tracking anyone who drives past. Some drivers never made it past them. Others did, but were never the same again. In 2011, a mechanic named David Carter became obsessed with the Jonathan Halley recording and decided to investigate Mile 96 himself. He later told his wife what happened that night, right before he stopped speaking entirely. David said he felt an invisible pressure around his chest as soon as he reached the road. His watch froze at 2:17 a.m. His radio started clicking, switching stations on its own. And then he saw them, 4 figures in the middle of the road. Motionless, expressionless. But their eyes were shifting toward him, slowly, deliberately. He said he tried to reverse, but his engine was dead. The world became silent, completely silent, like he'd gone underwater. Then the figures began to turn their heads, not their bodies. just their heads. Something inside him snapped. His next memory was waking up in his own driveway, covered in dust, with his car engine cold, despite the 2-hour drive it should have taken to get home. He never stepped inside a vehicle again. 2 days later, he stopped speaking. Doctors called it psychological trauma. His wife called it something else. She said, he left mile 96, but he didn't come back. Even now, residents from the nearby towns of Sanders Peak and Morobend refuse to drive anywhere near the region. Some claim the government fenced part of the area off years ago. Others say the fencing was privately installed. Recently, hikers have shared photos online showing rusted signs with peeled paint that seems to spell out one word: stop. No official agency has ever claimed responsibility for them. There are, of course, theories. Some say Mile 96 sits on a temporal anomaly, a place where time passes unevenly, thinning between layers of reality. Others believe the figures are people caught between two times. Or maybe they're not people at all, but echoes of something older, something observing us the way we observe animals in an exhibit. A more cynical theory suggests the entire region was a failed government experiment from the mid-20th century, involving electromagnetic field manipulation gone horribly wrong. But regardless of the theory, one detail unites every account: an overwhelming sensation of being watched by something that is not bound by time the way we are. Something patient, something curious, something just waiting. And Jonathan Hale's final recorded words remain the most chilling piece of evidence we have. They're rewatching me, but they can't move. No. Wait. Oh God! They're starting to turn. Today, that stretch of road is still unmarked on most digital maps. Locals actively discourage travelers from exploring the back. And if you ever find yourself driving alone through the mountains of Montana, and your watch suddenly stops, turn around, because if the stories are true, you may not make it out before time starts again. If you've made it to the end, tell me in the comments. Do you think Mile 96 is a temporal anomaly, or something entirely different? Your theories helped guide the next videos on the channel. Thanks for watching.